You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. What you're about to listen to is a conversation between myself and the son of one of the greats. Griff Dickinson is the son of Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden fame. Griff has his own band. They go by the name of Shvpes. The reason for the conversation is to promote Shvpes' upcoming release, which is called Greater Than. So let's have a listen to what Griff has to say. Here we go. Chat, how are you?
Hi, mate. Yeah, all good, thank you. I'm all good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, big day at uni for me. So I'm preparing for a bloody speech that I've got to give tomorrow. All self-inflicted, I might add. I volunteered to do it, but you know how it is, mate. You put your hand up to do these things in the hope to get brownie points, or in my case, enough points to accumulate points to finish my degree and graduate. so it's either that or choose something else, which is probably equally as unpalatable. Mate, I'm ready. What can I say? I'm rehearsed enough. I'm practiced. You know how it is.
Oh, well, good luck, mate. I'm sure you won't need it.
Thanks, mate. So what's been happening for you guys? I imagine there's quite a bit because your new album, Greater Than, that's out on November 9.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been, at the moment, I've just been doing shit tons of press, kind of pottering my way around Europe, and got our London press day next week, and rehearsing for tour, and about to release a new music video. It's all just been a bit fucking chock-a-block, really. But
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's all good. All good.
It's all
busy is better than not busy.
Yeah, and look, it's got to be very exciting too for you because you're creating a sound. So the press release I've got here states Trivium, Meshuggah, Tesseract, Sixth, and The Contortionist. I think that's a pretty good comparison as well. And this is music at the moment that's starting to find its way onto festivals. So is that something that you guys have been offered in the... I know it's summer for us down here, but I know it's winter going to you guys. But is the festival gigs, are they being offered to you guys very much because of this release?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we've been playing festivals since kind of we started, really. You know, we've been doing downloads. We just did Reading and Leeds, and
there you go.
Hellfest in France and stuff. So yeah, we've been doing the festival circuit for a while.
Okay. Now, is this an album, though? Because I've only been able to... I've got the songs, so I haven't got an advance of the album. I can check out the 3 tracks that are available. I think they're on YouTube, so I've had a listen to them. But is this an album that, say, the fans of your first release, are they going to be surprised by it, do you think? Have you thrown in a few surprises for them?
I think in some respects, people won't be shocked to hear what we're coming out with now. I think in some respects they will, in some respects they won't. You know, our last record always did have elements of kind of quirky asides, hip hop nods, kind of jazz nods, rapping nods, that sort of stuff. But it was that's all they were really, was just nods. Now we have entire songs that completely take what would have been previously a nod, for lack of a better word, and we kind of extrapolate that into a whole song. So I think in some respects, some people are going to probably hate it. The pure metal fans are probably going to hate parts of it. But I think we're going to garner so much more attention, and I think this is we've really put out an album that can entertain people that aren't into metal, which is quite important for me. I don't just want to solidify our music for one style of music taste. No.
It gives you options at the very least, doesn't it? And it also means that when you come on the radio or on a playlist or whatever it might be, people don't turn off your music straight away if they're not into metal.
Yeah, and I think a lot of exactly that, but one of the major things is just screaming. You know, the amount of people that are into metal, but as soon as they hear screaming, they just write it off. It doesn't matter if they're singing a note. It doesn't matter if the chorus is fucking great. As soon as they hear that growly voice, they're out of there. And that was one thing that I wanted to try and bridge the gap with, you know, because on the last record, it was very much, I had 2 voices, a singing voice or a screaming voice. On this one, I've tried to merge the 2 so that you're still getting all the aspects of melody, and it's more of like a Dave Grohl at his most aggressive rather than just straight up screaming, you know?
Yeah. Hey, look, I'll get the question out of the way because I had a chat to Evan Stanley about the same thing. You know who that famous surname belongs to, like yours does as well. So I hope you don't mind me asking, but I'm going to flip the question around a little bit and ask it to you this way. Do you get punished by a lot of indie journalists and by fans because of the famous association that you've got with your father? Or is it one of those things where they...
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought, mate.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, mate, every single interview especially for this record, from international press, has just been riddled with questions, and I think it's usually just a bit of an easy sell for lazy journalists that are just trying to get something out of you that people will click on online. So, I've been really riddled with them, especially from the European press, to the point that it's almost more questions about that than about the band in question. So.
Yeah, I thought that might have been the case, mate. It's never easy, is it? I mean, you're standing on your own 2 feet. You've got a wonderful band here, and the 3 songs that I've heard, mate, should do wonderful things for you. But if the journalists aren't focusing on the music, it's very hard to get the message out there.
True. At the same time, if the journalists aren't focused on the music, they're probably not that interested in the band in the first place. So it's probably not going to get a primetime slot anyway. So it's no skin off my back to shoot people down, but keep trying to, get that story out of me.
Yep, fair enough, mate. All right, let's talk about Jim Pinder, because he's done really bloody good work with Bullet for My Valentine and also Machine Head. But was he someone who you actively sought out to produce the album? Oh, no, he engineered it, didn't he?
So he engineered our first record, and then Carl Baum produced it. But I mean, to say engineer is kind of a bit of it's kind of not giving him enough credit. Right. He like co-produced it and engineered the first record. This record he produced, and he did the last record, so we were recommended him by our management team, and I think he did a terrific job of really helping us find our sound, especially on this record. He just asks the right questions at the right times and lets you figure out what, which way you want to go. But he's kind of like a human flowchart where you'll go, oh, I'm thinking about doing this. And he goes, is that what you really want to say? Is that what it's your album, but if that's what you really want to say, and then you kind of go through and you're like, do you know what? You're right. And you are still the creative one in the process, but he does stop you at various processes. And yeah, he was fantastic to work with. He was instrumental to our sound.
Where was it recorded? What studio?
At Treehouse Studios, where Jim Pinder works with Carl Baum.
That's in Wales, is that right?
It's in Chesterfield, which is kind of up near Sheffield. It's up north in England.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing on the press release. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So is that?
No, it was. Sorry, go on.
Is that so? You wrote the album in Wales, so that's what I was trying to figure out. Okay, so you actually went somewhere with the band with the express purpose of writing an album. Is that what happened? Yeah. So
we just come off tour, and it's always such a kind of a bit of a ball ache, really. Us all meeting up because we all live around the country, and there's so many distractions and all that kind of shit. There's internet everywhere, and everyone's got like girlfriends and all this stuff. So it was just like, let's book a little cottage in the middle of fucking nowhere. It had no phone signal, no internet. It was literally, so you could put up a drum kit and smack the shit out of it at 5 o'clock in the morning, and no one around you could hear you. It was genuinely like middle of bumfuck nowhere. Couldn't drink the tap water. That kind of shit.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah,
God, yeah. That's pretty
went
up
up there
there.
and locked ourselves away for a week with about 10 crates of beer and some food, and just fucking pedaled our way through the writing process. I think we actually only came out of that with about one full song and then a shit ton of ideas, but those ideas ended up kind of sprouting into what were these songs now.
How do you resolve band disputes then? Because there's 5 of you, there's a bloody lot of you in the one band. And I know even being in trios myself, because I'm a musician as well, it's been hard sometimes there. But do you have conflict, and how do you resolve the conflict if it arises?
It's a difficult one, and unfortunately, democracy kind of usually calls.
It fails, doesn't it, to be honest, doesn't it, democracy?
It does, but at the same time, that's kind of the only way to really do things. If someone feels really, like, obviously there's still room for debate and stuff, but you just have to kind of go, all right, well, it's me against 4 other people here, so I'm going to have to go with the majority.
Yeah, it's a tough one, that one right there. So would you say you guys are a cohesive unit? So say if you were offered a mega tour, like a 6-month trek, if you like, across Europe, and then a bit of a jaunt across North America as well, do you reckon you'd survive?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think when we're on the road, that's not that. Being around each other isn't the hard part. It's being creative together.
Yeah.
That's when the real disputes arise, because everyone gets along like a house on fire. You just go and party and do dumb shit, and it's very easy to get along like that. It's when it's when you start having to make creative decisions and people disagree. That's when it gets difficult. But we as time goes on, we've like learned massively how to get through those processes a lot easier.
Yes.
But back 2 years ago, it was like fucking everyone was butting heads, and as time goes on, you learn how to deal with people, I guess.
Yeah, you do, and look, one of the fellas that you collaborated with Matt was Matt Heafy, and God knows how much dramas, as I call him, he's had with his band. But what did he give you any words of advice? So, like when you were just chatting after a couple of bevies, that sort of thing. Did he sort of impart any wisdom or words of knowledge to you?
Dude, that guy from the second I've known him, from the second I've been in the band, has always, even when I haven't like prompted him, he's always kind of done everything that he can to try and help me out in any way. He's very much like a student and, as a result, a teacher. Do you know what I mean? He studies everything he does, and he wants to be the best and most technically like precise at what he does. So especially with like my voice and stuff like that, anytime I need kind of, if I'm having a trouble with one little section, I'll just shoot him a message and be like, dude, every time I try to do this keeps happening. You got any ideas? And he's spent a lot more money on his voice and vocal coaching and stuff than I have. So I just kind of go and pick his brains and pull out some little nuggets, which are thankfully not as expensive as what he paid.
Yeah, gotcha. And yeah, they weren't the first band. I know I read it, just reading the press release, they're one of the bands that's on there. Now, I can hear the music after it was mentioned. I can hear the relationship between Shvpes' music and Trivium's music, but they weren't the first one that came to mind. But you're obviously a big fan of Trivium, as am I. So which is your favourite album from them?
Oh, I mean, the album that I got into them on was Ascendancy. But when I listen back today, I think Ascendancy, when it came out, was like fucking mind-blowing. But I think the production on Shogun is a lot better. So I'm probably going to have to... For now, I would prefer to listen to Shogun than Ascendancy myself.
Yeah, I actually agree
Shogun.
with you.
Yeah.
I look, God... Look, if it's okay with you, I'm intending on releasing this as a podcast episode, so I'll ask you that now. Is that cool if I do that? Because I don't try to be controversial about things, but the reason I bring that up is I don't like most of the stuff they've done since Shogun, because I think Shogun was such a fantastic album. Any band would have trouble following that. So has he talked to you about some of the issues that they've had in creating music that fans would like? Like they've told him, I've spoken to him about kind of like their trajectory and kind of where they've been at and whether they're going up or they're going down and kind of stuff like that. But just before they released the last record was when we went on tour with them, and now they're the biggest now that they've ever been. They just sold out Brixton Academy basically by themselves, which is that's awesome. When every other band, Machine Head are breaking up, like Kill Switch are kind of... Yeah, what the hell's going on there? Yeah.
Kill Switch are like supporting Bullet for My Valentine and stuff like the bands, metal bands from that era aren't as big as they were. And Trivium are the only ones that are coming out of it with, swinging, which is fucking awesome, because for a very long time, they weren't the cool metal band to like. And it just kind of goes to show you stick to your guns and you fucking try hard and you'll persevere, which I really respect about those guys.
I know what you're saying, and you bang on point, because it was about 7 years ago or so. Trivium toured as a support. I don't know whether it was a major support or a minor support, but either way, they toured underneath bloody Disturbed. Now, don't get me wrong, Disturbed aren't the most engaging metal band on the planet in 2000 and whatever year it was. And I actually thought it should have been the other way around, but that was obviously my impression of what the band delivered on Shogun, The Crusade, and also Ascendancy. But to your point, that's really heartening to hear that fans are actually re-engaging with their music and they're understanding that Matt is an epic contributor to heavy metal, and they aren't letting the band go, because you mentioned a couple of bands there, and one of them, Machine Head, I heard the news over the weekend, actually, or just before the weekend arrived last week, and Rob's been out there saying some stuff. Let's face it, he's been out there saying some stuff, and he's been putting his opinions out there, and that's pissing a lot of people off, I think. And My view on that is it's probably pissed off some of the people in his band, not the content of what he's saying, but he's putting a lot of undue pressure on the band. Is that something? Does that resonate with you as well? If I say that, or do you think it's more?
I mean, about Machine Head specifically.
Yeah, Machine Head specifically. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think there's no doubt that when someone starts doing a podcast and kind of putting their opinion out into the world, unless the whole band stands behind him, which is extremely fucking unlikely with a group of, elderly men, effectively, they're probably mid-40s. It's very unlikely that all of those people's political, social, etc. opinions will combine. So I can imagine that was probably a frustrating factor. I can't imagine that was the factor why they all quit around him. I think it probably goes to show that his opinion online is just kind of like but a mere fraction of how opinionated he is offline. And he probably just held on too tight and put too much pressure on the band. And I think he maybe was stuck in the mindset that he was still in 2007 and still, riding off the back of the Blackening and the biggest metal band going at the time.
Yeah.
Which maybe sent him into oblivion. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but yeah, it's a shame. But I can't say it's a shock.
Yeah, and look, you're only expressing your opinion. We're not talking about facts here. We're just talking about we're just speculating, really. But look, I go to a uni where there are a lot of North American students that go through there. So I do talk to them. And I think Brits, like Australians, we're very cynical of politicians. So we're not, if pressed, we'll take a side, but we don't really put it out there, is what I'm saying. It's very, apart from people like Lily Allen, who's on a big bloody, soapbox at the moment with what she's doing, and she has been for a while, most of us stay out of it. But, mate, the Americans feel really drawn to taking a position, don't they? Even when they have no business to do so. Like, Rob, to me, dude, you're in a heavy metal band, one of the greatest of all time. Stick to that. Your opinions about Trump and about some of the social issues that are happening in the States, you're not fully educated. You don't have all of the information to be isolating all of your, not all of your fans, sorry, but some of your fan base the way you are. And I can't help but feel that ever since the Phil Anselmo thing, when he came out and he did that thing about Phil's thing that he did at the Dime Bash, it's just been, he's sort of, to me as an outsider, I've never met him, never spoke to him, probably never will, but he seems like as though he's putting a lot of undue pressure on himself and therefore the band by making these comments. And I think it sort of echoes the comments you're saying, but in a different way.
Do you know what, Matt? I think that's a very, I hear what you're saying, but I think it's a very dangerous kind of path to tread, saying, you're effectively, you're a musician, you should play music and not get political, which I don't think is, I don't agree with that. I think everyone has a right to speak out on any aspect. And if you choose to speak out on your band's social media, so be it. If you run the risk of alienating people, but if that's what you're about, then that's absolutely fine. There's certain things that I talk about on this record that will most definitely alienate some people, but that's because I want to talk about them, and I'm not going to go and make like the Teletubbies album to kind of go and go and make it, everyone interested in my record, because they probably fucking won't be. It needs to speak about something, needs to speak out. And I think bands like Rage Against the Machine never would have come about if people didn't speak out about shit that they really care about. So I think with Rob, he can say whatever the fuck he wants. If someone started kind of going and sticking up for Phil Anselmo on my band's social media, I'd probably kick off.
Yeah.
But,
yep.
It is what it is, and he's allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. I don't think you should ever tell someone that they can't speak out about what they want to speak out about there.
No, that's a fair point. I guess it just comes back to your career, though, and the consequences on your career, doesn't it? So there are always consequences, and Machine Head started out as just a balls-to-the-wall heavy metal band, and the politics has only really come along in the last 2 years, whereas with Rage, you got that straight away. As soon as you bought that album back in 1993, and because I'm 40, I did, and you saw that Burning Monk on the front cover, you knew that whatever the hell was going on inside of that album was going to be there's going to be some pretty sharp commentary inside of that. But no, look, I take your point completely, and I wouldn't suggest for a moment that artists and bands don't have an opinion, but there are consequences, unfortunately, to having an opinion. God knows, even in my position as a very lowly nobody podcaster and interviewer, indie journalist, I've always tried to be careful with the comments that I make, but it's important to think, to your point too, to have an opinion and to stand within your own truth on these things.
Yeah, totally, but having consequences is just a part of life. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do something. If you really believe in it, you got to deal with the consequences. No.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right, mate. So when are you coming down here? When's that looking likely?
As soon as fucking possible, really. As soon as we get a gig booked, we're all ready to leave. I can have my shit packed in 20 minutes. So.
All right, no worries. And have you had a lot of feedback from us over social media?
From the Aussies?
Yeah, from Australia, sorry, yep.
I haven't had a great deal, actually. I've seen one or two interviews pop up online, but I don't know. I'm not actively searching for them, to be honest. But I haven't had that much. But hopefully, it all kind of hits the ground and we can get some traction over in Australia.
Well, good on you, mate. Thanks very much for the conversation. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was a conversation with Griff Dickinson, the son of Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden fame. He has his own band. They go by the name of Shvpes. Thank you so much for listening.